Welcome to another Kevin's English School's English learning video. Have you wondered why your English doesn't sound fluent even after knowing all the words and phrases? Well, it might be due to some common grammar mistakes. Welcome to a journey of mastering the English language. Today, we're exploring the fascinating world of grammar, specifically the common mistakes that can trip up even the most diligent learners. If you're wondering why it's essential to grasp these rules, consider this. Grammar is the backbone of any language. It's like the rules of the road. If everyone decided to disregard stop signs or traffic lights, chaos would ensue. Similarly, grammar rules help us understand each other clearly, avoiding misunderstandings. Now let's delve into common grammar mistakes. These are errors that sneak into our day-to-day conversations, our emails, and our social media posts. They're like stealthy little gremlins, causing confusion and sometimes embarrassment. But fear not, we're here to shine a light on these errors, so you can banish them from your English usage. You might be surprised to find out that even native English speakers often stumble over these grammar rules. For instance, the misuse of your and your is a frequent error, or mixing up it's and its. These mistakes are so common that they've become almost a rite of passage for learning English. But with a bit of practice and guidance, you can learn to avoid these pitfalls. We'll also tackle more complex issues like verb tenses, sentence structure, and punctuation. These are like the signposts guiding us through the English language, helping us express our thoughts and ideas clearly. They might seem daunting at first, but with a little patience and persistence, you'll master them in no time. Remember, everyone makes mistakes, and it's through these mistakes that we learn and grow. So, don't be disheartened if you make a few errors along the way. They're stepping stones towards proficiency. Stick around to learn how to avoid these common mistakes and improve your English grammar. One of the most common mistakes in English grammar relates to verb tenses. In English, we have three main types of verb tenses: past, present, and future. Each of these tenses has a unique role in helping us express when an action took place. Let's kick off with the past tense. The past tense is used to talk about an action that has already happened. For instance, if I say, I baked a cake, it means I'm talking about something I did before now. However, some people may incorrectly say, I bake a cake, when referring to a past event. Remember, the correct form is baked, not bake, for past actions. Next, we have the present tense. This is used to describe what's happening right now or a general truth. For example, I bake cakes every Sunday indicates a routine or habit. A common mistake is using the past tense instead of the present tense. So, I bake cakes every Sunday would be incorrect if you're still continuing this habit. Finally, we have the future tense, which talks about actions that haven't happened yet. If I say, I will bake a cake, it means I haven't done it yet, but I plan to. A common error is using the present tense instead of the future, like saying, I bake a cake tomorrow, which is incorrect. The correct form is, I will bake a cake tomorrow. To give you a quick recap, we use the past tense for actions that have already happened, the present tense for what's happening now or a general truth, and the future tense for actions that will happen. So why is this important? Well, using the correct verb tense is not just about being grammatically correct. It's about making your English sound more natural, more fluent. It helps others understand you better, and it allows you to express your thoughts more clearly. In the end, mastering verb tenses might seem a bit daunting at first, but with practice, it will become second nature. Remember, correct use of verb tenses can make your English sound more natural. Another area where learners often make mistakes is the sentence structure. Let's dive into that, shall we? The basic English sentence structure is as simple as 1, 2, 3, subject, verb, object. The subject is who or what the sentence is about. The verb tells us what the subject is doing, and the object, well, that's what the subject is doing the action to. So, for example, in the sentence, the cat chased the ball, the cat is the subject, chased is the verb, and the ball is the object. Easy peasy, right? But, like anything in English, it can get a bit more complicated. One common mistake is the run-on sentence. This is when two or more independent clauses are joined without the correct punctuation or conjunction. For instance, I love ice cream, it's my favorite dessert. See what happened there? Those are two complete thoughts that should be separated by a period or a conjunction like and or but. Another common error is sentence fragments. These are incomplete sentences that lack either a subject, a verb, or a complete thought. For example, running through the park. Sure, it paints a picture, but it's not a complete sentence. Who is running? Why? We need more information to make it a full sentence. Now you might be thinking, but I see these kinds of sentences in books all the time. And you're absolutely right. In creative writing, authors often use fragments and run-ons for stylistic reasons. But for academic writing or formal speaking, it's important to stick to the rules. Trust me, your English teacher will thank you. Remember, the key to mastering sentence structure is practice. Write, speak, repeat. Over time, you'll start to naturally form well-structured sentences. And here's a final thought to take with you. A well-structured sentence is the cornerstone of good English writing and speaking. So, keep practicing, and you'll be crafting perfect sentences in no time. Punctuation marks may seem small, but they can make a big difference in your English. They're the traffic signals of language, directing words, sentences, and thoughts, making sure everything flows smoothly and makes sense. Let's start with some of the most common punctuation marks. The period, or full stop, signifies the end of a sentence. It tells the reader to take a pause before moving on to the next thought. Then, there's the comma, a versatile little symbol that can indicate a brief pause within a sentence. It separates items in a list, differentiates clauses, and sometimes just gives the reader a breather. Next, we have the semicolon, a bridge between the comma and the period. It's used to connect closely related ideas without starting a new sentence, allowing for a smoother transition. The colon, on the other hand, introduces lists, explanations, or expansions on a point. Quotation marks signal direct speech or quotations, while apostrophes are used for contractions and to indicate possession. Question marks and exclamation points naturally denote questions and exclamations respectively. Now, onto some common mistakes. A common one is comma splicing, which is using a comma to connect two independent clauses. That's a job for a semicolon or a conjunction. Another is the misuse of apostrophes in its and its is possessive, while its is a contraction of it is. One more common mistake is the overuse of exclamation points. Remember, they're for exclamations or emphatic statements. If everything is emphasized, nothing stands out. Avoiding these mistakes isn't just about being grammatically correct, it's about ensuring your meaning is clear. For example, the sentence, "Let's eat, Grandpa," is a friendly invitation, while "Let's eat, Grandpa," well, that's cannibalism. Punctuation is a powerful tool in your language toolbox. It's the difference between an awkward, confusing sentence and a clear, effective one. So, don't underestimate those little marks. They're small but mighty. Remember, correct punctuation can prevent misunderstandings and make your English clear and effective. Subject-verb agreement is a simple rule, but it's often overlooked. It's one of the cornerstones of English grammar, and mastering it can make your English sound more fluent and natural. So, let's dive right in. Subject-verb agreement is all about making sure that your subject and your verb match up. In other words, if you have a singular subject, you need a singular verb. And if you have a plural subject, you need a plural verb. It seems simple enough, right? But it's easy to get tripped up. Let's look at some examples. If we have the sentence, "The dog barked at the mailman," we can see there's a problem. Dog is a singular subject, but bark is a plural verb. To correct this, we should say, "The dog barks at the mailman." On the flip side, if we say "the dogs barks at the mailman," we have a mismatch again. This time, dogs is a plural subject, but barks is a singular verb. The correct sentence should be, "The dogs bark at the mailman." Now here's where it can get a bit tricky. What if we have a sentence like this? "The team of engineers work on the project." Is that correct? It may seem so at first glance. After all, engineers is plural and work is a plural verb. But if we look closer, we'll see that the actual subject of the sentence isn't engineers, it's team, which is singular. So the correct sentence is, "The team of engineers works on the project." And there you have it. The rule of subject-verb agreement is all about ensuring that your subjects and verbs match up in number. It's a small detail, but it's one that can make a big difference in how your English is understood. So, next time you're writing or speaking English, take a moment to double-check your subject-verb agreement. You might be surprised at how often it's overlooked, and how much clearer your English can be when you get it right. Keeping the subject and verb in agreement can significantly improve the clarity of your English. Pronouns and their antecedents can be a tricky area, but they're crucial for fluent English. Let's dive right in. Pronouns are words that take the place of nouns, and they're everywhere in our language. He, she, it, they, we, you, I, and who are all examples of pronouns. They keep our sentences from sounding repetitive and monotonous by replacing the nouns we've already mentioned. Now, what about antecedents? Simply put, an antecedent is the word that a pronoun is referring to. For example, in the sentence "John lost his keys," John is the antecedent and his is the pronoun. The pronoun his is referring back to John. It sounds simple, right? But here's where some people get tangled up. The pronoun must agree with its antecedent in number and gender. This means if the antecedent is singular, the pronoun should be singular. If the antecedent is plural, the pronoun should be plural. If the antecedent is male, the pronoun should be male, and so on. Let's look at an example. Each of the students has their own locker. Sounds okay, right? But actually it's incorrect. Each of the students is a singular antecedent, so the pronoun should be his or her, not their. The correct sentence is, each of the students has his or her own locker. Another common mistake happens when the pronoun's antecedent is unclear. For example, Sarah told Linda that she failed. Who failed, Sarah or Linda? The pronoun she is vague here. A better sentence would be, Sarah told Linda that Linda had failed. So, to sum up, pronouns replace nouns, and antecedents are what those pronouns refer to. They must agree in number and gender, and the pronoun's reference should always be clear. Paying attention to pronouns and antecedents can make your English more precise and understandable. So, we've covered some of the most common grammar mistakes in English. In the past quarter of an hour, we've embarked on a journey through the labyrinth of English grammar. We've navigated the tricky twists and turns of verb tenses, dissected complex sentence structures, and delved into the precise world of punctuation. We've also tackled the nuances of subject-verb agreement and explored the intricate relationship between pronouns and their antecedents. Let's take a moment to recall the key takeaways. For verb tenses, we learned that the tense of a verb not only tells us the time of the action, but also gives us a sense of its continuity. We delved into past, present, and future tenses, each with their simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous forms. Remember, using the correct tense is crucial to maintaining the accuracy of your narrative. On the topic of sentence structure, we discovered that the basic structure of an English sentence is subject, verb, and object, often abbreviated as SVO. However, we also learned that English allows flexibility in sentence structure to emphasize different parts of the sentence or to create a particular tone or style. But regardless of how you arrange your sentences, always ensure that your meaning is clear. When it comes to punctuation, we dove into the world of full stops, commas, semicolons, and more. We understood that these little symbols are the traffic signs of language. They guide the reader through your sentences, indicating when to pause, stop, or expect a list. So use them wisely to maintain the flow and clarity of your writing. In our discussion on subject-verb agreement, we stressed that a verb must agree in number with its subject. Singular subjects take singular verbs, and plural subjects take plural verbs. This rule might seem simple, but it's often overlooked, leading to common grammar mistakes. So keep an eye on this one. Lastly, we explored the relationship between pronouns and their antecedents. We learned that a pronoun must always agree with its antecedent in number, gender, and person. This ensures that your sentences are not only grammatically correct but also clear and free of ambiguity. In essence, having a strong grasp of these grammar rules is paramount to communicating effectively in English. It's not only about avoiding mistakes, it's about expressing your ideas clearly, accurately, and persuasively. It's about making sure your voice is heard and understood. It's about connecting with others, across cultures and continents, through the power of language. So, as we wrap up this tutorial, let's remember that good grammar is not a destination, but a journey. It requires practice, patience, and a keen eye for detail. But with every step you take, you'll become more confident, more articulate, and more adept in the English language. Remember, good grammar is the key to clear and effective English. Keep practicing, and you'll surely get there.